International Women's Day. We extend our greetings to all ladies. We wish you a happy International Women's Day. Today, we have the honor to have three leaders from the NDRC, three members of the leading party group, Vice Chairman Ning, Vice Chairman Zucai, and Secretary General Zhao Chenxin. As we know, the reform and development work is crucial to implementing the new development philosophy and the guiding principles of the 19th Party Congress and the 5th plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee, and ensuring a good upstart of the development of the economy. Today, we have the honor to have the leading officials answer your questions on this issue. Vice Chairman Ning, please. Ladies and gentlemen, friends from the media, good morning. On the 5th of March, Chairman He Lifeng took a minister's corridor interview for the two sessions and answered questions that the media care about very much. Today, Vice Chairman Hu, Secretary General Zhao, and I myself are happy to meet with you and continue to take the questions on your mind. As we celebrate the International Women's Day, we extend our festive greetings to all ladies. Let me also thank all friends from the media for your long-time care, understanding, support, and help for the development and reform work. Over last year, in face of the challenging international situation and heavy domestic reform and development tasks, especially the heavy impact of COVID-19, under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Chairman Xi Jinping at the core, all government departments and localities have coordinated COVID-19 response and economic and social development, ensured a steady progress in stability in 6 major areas and protection on 6 priority fronts. We have ensured a steady quarter-on-quarter recovery of the economy and achieved the goals for our economic and social development for last year. We secured comprehensive victory in alleviating extreme poverty and decisive achievements in fully building moderately prosperous society. The draft guidelines of the 14th Five-Year Plan and the draft planning report for 2021 were submitted to the two sessions for approval. Regarding the draft planning report, it took stock of last year's national economic and social development and put forward the major goals, policy orientations, and specific tasks for this year. It will be deliberated by the MPC for approval and also discussed by the CPPCC. It will be an important reference for our development this year. 2021 is an extraordinary year for China's modernization drive. It is the start of the 14th Five-Year Plan period, as well as the start of China's new journey of fully building a modern socialist country. Ensuring good progress in reform and development is crucial. We will continue to follow the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Chairman Xi Jinping at the core, in accordance with the requirements of Premier Li Keqiang's government work report, ensuring progress while maintaining stability, consider the new development stage, implement the new development philosophy, build a new development paradigm, and advance high-quality development. We will advance reform and open it up, consolidate and expand the progress in COVID-19 response and economic and social development, better coordinate security and development, ensure progress in the stability in 6 priority areas and protection in 6 priority fronts. We will take science-based macro policies, ensure the economy operates within the proper range, and kick off the 14th five-year plan to a good start, and use our good progress to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the founding of the CPC. Those are my opening remarks. Now, Vice Chairman Hu, please.
Now I'd like to present the basic briefing about the draft guideline for the 14th five-year plan. This five-year plan period follows the completion of a moderately prosperous society and the realization of the first centenary goals, and marks the first 5 years in fully building a modern socialist country and the second centenary goal. The Party Central Committee and the State Council attach great importance to the formulation of this guideline, and the fifth plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee adopted the recommendations for formulating the 14th five-year plan and the long-range goals for 2035. These are the directions and guidelines we need to follow in formulating our guideline. General Secretary Xi Jinping made important remarks and delivered important directions on the formulation, and Premier Li Keqiang hosted multiple meetings to study the formulation. Following the decision of the Party Central Committee and the State Council, we started relevant work in 2019. And following the fifth plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee, we followed through on the decision of the recommendation and reviewed the experience we gained from the 13th five-year plan. On that basis, we started the formulation of the guideline. In this process, we focused on key targets and tasks, aligned top-level design and public participation, started more than 200 key study on key questions, and we solicited views from experts, localities, and departments, as well as the public. This process allows us to incorporate the expectation of the public, wisdom of the public and the experts and the local governments into the guideline. This guideline follows the Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics, and focuses on our key projects and missions. This will be a blueprint for our new journey of fully building a modern socialist country, and will guide the efforts of all Chinese. The guideline consists of 19 parts, 65 chapters, 192 sections. There are 3 segments. The first segment is about the missions and measures, key principles, and key targets. The second segment about the missions and measures in 17 strategic areas. And third segment is about implementation. The guideline has 4 prominent features. First, the new stage and philosophy and the paradigm for development. The guideline takes into account our new development stage in fully building a modern socialist country, follows through on the new development philosophy, and will help foster a new development paradigm. This guideline aims at high-quality development, and it is based on our full understanding and systematic implementation of the 3 new tasks. And second, it features smooth transition from the first to the second centenary goals. Keeping in mind the 2035 goals for the long-range goals for 2035, the 14th five-year key targets, and and new progress in 6 areas, we set up 20 key indicators in 5 areas. It also fully reflects our philosophy of people-centered development, which will aim for greater fulfillment for our people. And these targets are reasonable and science-based. They will be very encouraging and will also take into consideration some potential risks and dangers. Third is to realize both development and security. we, for the first time, set up a special section for security and development. There are specific arrangements for ensuring national security and capacity building, ensuring food, energy, and financial security. And fourth, it is about key projects to ensure the implementation of key strategic missions. There are 20 columns involving 102 major projects that are what people need and what the country should have. And now the guideline is submitted for the deliberation of the fourth session of the 13th CPC National Congress. We will improve the guideline based on the opinions from the deputies. With this encouraging blueprint, we are confident that under the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and with the joint efforts of people of all ethnic groups, we will translate this blueprint into reality, and we will make new progress in our economy, science and technology over national capacity and people's livelihood. Thank you for the briefing, and now we are entering the Q&A session. Please identify your affiliation before raising the question.
谢谢主持人，中央广播电视总台央视记者。
CCTV.
从目前情况来看，2021年宏观经济仍然面临域外疫情输入风险。
We still face some spillover effect of external risks of pandemics, and there are many uncertainties. How do you see these risks and issues? And how will the policy support economic recovery and help realize the set goals for 2021?
That is a very good question. First, let me point out that for the first 2 months of 2021, China's economic performance maintained the momentum of steady recovery that lasted from Q2 of last year. From the overall power generation and railway load, they increased by 24.2% and 16.5% respectively. From demand indicators, this year's Spring Festival saw retail and restaurant consumption up by 28.7%, which was 4.9% higher than 2019. In February this year, China's theater box revenue created a global record. After Spring Festival, the reopening rate of investment and construction projects were both higher than last year. For the first 2 months, the export and import grew by 32%, among which exports grew by over 50%. From prosperity indicators, in February, PMI growth was 50.6% and non-manufacturing commercial activity index was 51.4%, which was above the expansion threshold for 12 consecutive months, which means the economy continues to expand. At the same time, as you mentioned, China's economy still faces some risks and challenges as COVID-19 continues to spread in the world, and the world economic landscape remains severe. Uncertainty and destabilizing factors are on the rise. The foundation for domestic economic recovery is yet to be firmed up. Consumption remains restrained, investment lacks steam, and smaller firms face many difficulties. Many of the issues that we face are issues in the process of recovery and can be addressed with further development. For imported risks, we must take proactive measures to guard against them. We need to use certainty of domestic economic work to buffer the uncertainties globally. As you may have noticed in the draft planning report, we laid out the major indicators for 2021 economic and social development. GDP growth over 6%, new urban jobs 11 million, urban surveyed unemployment rate 5.5%, CPI growth 3%, etc. These indicators have been set in consideration of the economic recovery, the impact of COVID-19 to economic trajectory, the consistency for the growth of different years, as well as the range-based management. We are convinced that with the support of the macro policies and the efforts of market entities, the economic targets can be achieved. And let me further lay out the measures in the following 6 areas. First, maintain necessary support with macro policy. For a healthy and sustainable growth, we must keep the macro policies consistent, stable, and sustainable. There will be no sharp turns, and they will be constantly updated. We will continue to maintain a proactive fiscal policy. In 2021, public expenditure exceeds 25 trillion yuan, up by 1.8%. Central to local government transfer payment up by 7.8%. Balancing transfer payment up by over 10%. The monetary policy will continue to be prudent. Monetary supply and total financing growth will be will keep pace with the growth of nominal economic growth. This year's nominal GDP growth might be very high, so we need to keep liquidity reasonably sufficient. We'll continue to put employment first. This year, the new urban job growth will be 2 million more than last year. Necessary support will continue to be given to enterprises with no or less layoff. Second, we will continue to maintain the relief policies for enterprises. They are the source of economic growth. With stability for the 140 million market entities, we can ensure stability of the economic fundamentals. On tax cuts, we will continue to maintain institutional tax cut policies, extend the provisional tax cut policies, and continue to adopt new structural tax cut measures. On financial policy, we will continue to extend the preferential policy for smaller firm loan deferrals and guide banks to give greater support to smaller firms and household businesses. And banks will be given targeted support who are heavily hit by COVID-19. We will continue to guide financial sector to provide benefits to the real economy. On fee cuts, we will continue to lower the power price for general industrial and commercial sectors and cut the broadband cost by another 10% for SMEs. The levying rate for airlines will be lowered by another 20%. And we will encourage heavily hit localities to cut the rent for smaller firms and household businesses who are renting state-owned houses. Third, we will make good use of the reform policies. To ensure stability in growth and development, we need to rely on reform and innovation, which is the fundamental driving force. Reform policy need to invigorate market entities and stay committed to growing both the public and private sector economies. We will deepen reform of government functions as well as functions for businesses, financial and taxation, fiscal, and prices. We need to ensure the fundamentals of foreign trade and stability of trade and market entities. We need to promote the growth of quality and quantity of foreign trade. We will advance the development of pilot free trade zones and the Hainan Free Trade Port. We will advance the dual circulations for the domestic and international economies. Fourth, we will advance science, technology, and innovation. We need to ensure scientific and technological self-reliance, advance science and technology innovation capacity, step up input in basic studies, secure breakthroughs in core technologies, and advance international scientific and technological cooperation. We will deepen supply-side structural reform, focus on reinvigorating and developing the real economy, modernize and upgrade the industrial chains, and launch targeted programs to develop advanced manufacturing clusters. For the research cost deduction, it will be increased by 100%, and we will provide monthly full tax refund on excess VAT increment. We will advance the implementation for the guidelines of the development of integrated circuits and software industries, and advance the pilot projects for advanced manufacturing and modern services. Fifth, we will focus on supply-demand side management. We will strengthen the strategic focus on expansion of domestic demand and advance the coordinated development of domestic and external demand. We will make good use of the fundamental, crucial, and supporting role of consumption, investment, and exports. Let me focus on consumption. To expand consumption, we need to expand employment and increase residential income. That said, we saw a drop of 4% for the per capita consumption expenditure, which was lower than the 2.1% actual growth of disposable income, this was affected by COVID-19. Therefore, consumption with the feature of gathering and contact was restrained. Therefore, we need to ensure the promotion of consumption alongside regularized COVID-19 containment and expand commodities consumption, services consumption, health consumption, information consumption, internet consumption, and green consumption. On the auto industry, we will conduct automobiles to the countryside and automobile trade-in projects, and guide localities to continue to ease the purchase restriction for new energy vehicles and increase quota. This will help the healthy and orderly development of the new energy vehicles. Last year, China produced 1.456 million new energy vehicles. On housing, we will continue to provide support for affordable rental houses and shared ownership houses to meet people's demand for housing. Sixth, we will advance green and low-carbon circular development. Better ecological protection will help build new growth drivers of high-quality growth. We need to take the opportunity of our efforts to achieve carbon peaking and carbon neutrality to advance structural restructuring. In 2020, China's new energy power generation installed capacity achieved 934 million kilowatts. We will advance the coordinated development of energy growth and energy conservation, and develop the energy conservation and environmental protection industry with a value of trillions of yuan. This year, we need to ensure the 3% energy consumption cut, and as well as our other targets in the drop of major pollutants. Thank you. Next question. Thank you with the cover. The Central Economic Work Conference made it clear that in 2021 we will advance major project development so as to further give full play to the role of investment. What measures will be taken, and what will be the consideration for new type of infrastructure development? Thank you.
全球唯一正增长
China
的
was
主
the
要经
only
济体，
major
投资
economies
是
in the
公布
world to
可没。
realize positive
今年呢，
growth, and
我们要
investment
保
has
持
played a
经济
very
运行
important
在
role.
合理
This
期
year,
间，
we will continue
还
to
需
keep
要
the
进一
economy
步发挥
performing within
投
the
资的
appropriate
关键
range,
作用，
and we need to boost
加大补
effective
短板的力度，
investment to strengthen
开
the
拓
weak
投
links,
资空
expand
间，
space
增
for
强投资
investment,
后劲，
and boost sustainable investment
扩大
growth.
有效投资，主要从这样5个方面着手吧。
These are
第
our
一，发挥政
targets
府投
in
资
5
引导的
areas.
带动作用。
First, we will
2021年中央
allow
预算
the
类投资
government
规模
investment to
为
play a leading role.
6100亿元，
In
比上年
2021,
增
the
长100亿
on-budget
元，
investments
集中
estimates
力量
will be
办国家层面的大事、
610
难事、
billion
急事，
yuan, up by
积极支
10
持
billion
城
yuan
镇
compared
小
with
老旧
last
小
year,
区的
and they
改
will
造。
be spent on important
三
and
农
urgent
和水
projects,
利
including
重大
the
基础设施
renovation of
国家
rundown
重大
areas in
战略
urban areas,
社会事业、
rural and
生态文明建
agriculture-related
设等重点领域建设。
programs, water
同时
conservancy,
，2021
key
年将安
infrastructure,
排地
and other
方
major
政府
projects.
专项
And
债券
also, the local government
3.65
will
万亿元，
issue
规模
3.65
总体
trillion
稳定，
yuan
精准的用于
of
交
special
通、
bond.
能
They
源、
will be used
农林水
in
利、
such areas
生态
as
环保、社
transportation,
会事业、
energy,
物流、
agriculture, water
市政和产
conservancy,
业园区基础设
environment
施等领
protection,
域有一定
social
收益的
utilities,
基础设施和公共
logistics,
服务项目，推
and
动有
the
效投
building
资。
of industrial
第二，
zones.
加大投资补
And
短板
second, we
调结构的力
will
度，
strengthen the
今
weak
天的投
links
资
and
就是
improve
明天
the
的产
structure.
业或事业。
Investments
要加
will
快
be
补齐
translated
基础设施、
into
市政工程、
industrial
农业
outputs.
农村、
We
公共
will
安全、生
strengthen
态环保、
the weak
公
links
共卫生、
in infrastructure,
物资
public
储备、防灾
utilities,
减灾、
rural
民生
areas,
保障
public
等领域的
security,
短板，
environmental protection,
扩大制
public
造业
health,
设备更新和技术改造投资。
emergency
去
reserves,
年
disaster
我国
prevention,
高技
and
术产业的投资
social
同比增长
security. We
10.6%，
will also
增速
increase
高于
investment
全部投
in
资
innovation
7.7
and
个
high
百分点。
tech. Our high
今
tech
年呢，还
investment
要进
last
一步
year
加
went
强
up
宏
by
观指导，统筹好
10.6%,
产业布局，聚
7.7
焦节能
percentage
环
point
保、
higher than
新一
the
代
overall
信息技
investment
术、
growth.
生物、新
We
能
will
源等领域，
strengthen
扩
the
大高
investments
技术产业和
in
战略性
information
新兴
technology,
产业的投资。
biology, and new
加快
energy
推进
to
两新
boost
一重建设。
the investment in
在
high-tech
新型基础
industries
设施
and
方面，
strategic
今年
emerging
将出台“十
industries.
四五”
Third,
新型基础
we will
设施建
accelerate
设规划，
the building
大
of
力
new
发展
infrastructure,
数字经
advance
济，
new
拓展
urbanization, and
5G 应用，
strengthen the
加快
investment
工业
in
互联
key
网、数据
projects.
中心等
This
建设。
year, we will
在新型城镇化方
develop
面，
with vigorous
要实
efforts
施
the digital
城市
economy,
更新
5G
行动，全面
application,
推进
internet
城镇老旧
for
小区改
industrial
造，
use, and
推进以县城为主要
data
载体
center.
的城镇化建
And
设。
in
在
urbanization,
重
we
大
will
工程方面，
advance the
及时推
renovation
进川藏
of
铁路、
rundown
西林至
areas,
成都铁路、
expand
大亭
house
峡
for
水利
rent,
枢纽工程
and
等
other key
交通
projects.
水
And
利
in major
重大项
projects,
目。
we will advance the
第四，
Sichuan
促进
Tibet
民
Railway,
间投资
the railway
更好发
linking
展。
Xilin and Chengdu,
去年民
and
间投资保
Datang
持良好恢复势头，
Xia
全
Hydro
年
project.
实现了正增
We will
长，
also boost
占
private
全社会投
investment.
资的54.9%，
Last year,
潜力还
private
很大。
investments managed to
今年呢，
realize positive growth
要
and accounts for
采取3个进一步的措施，
54.9%
是吧？
of the
一是
total
进一步调
investments.
动民间投
There are
资
great
的积
potential
极性，
in this area.
继
We will
续放开
continue to
民营
encourage
企业
private
市场准入，
investment. We
支
will
持
expand
民营
market
企业创
access,
新发展，
support
鼓励民间资本
innovation
参与
and
两
development
新一
of
重
private
及补短板项目的建设。
businesses, and we will
二是进一
encourage
步增
private
强
capital
民间投
in
资能力，
the
引
building
导
of
银
new
行加
infrastructure,
大
new
对民
urbanization,
间
and
民
key
营企业的
projects.
信贷支持，
We will also
落实
encourage
中
the
小微
banks
企
to
业
support
吧
private
减税
businesses,
降费、降成本的政
continue
策，
to realize
进一
to
步
deliver the
三是
policies
进一
of
步创新
cutting
民间
costs
投资
and
的方式，
tax for
规范推广
SMEs,
政府和社会
and
资
we
本合
will
作及
continue
PPP 模式，
to
稳妥
advance
开展
the
基础设施领域
PPP model,
不动产投
as
资
well
信托
as the
基金
pilots
瑞次的试点，
in the
盘
area
活
of
基础设
rates,
施存量
and
的
we
资
will
产。
continue to make
第
good
五，
use of
加强
the
项目储备和
capital in the
资金
infrastructure
要
area.
素保
Fifth, we will strengthen the project's scope and funding and factor support.
今年将与“十四五”规
The
划
most
相衔接，
important thing is
全面梳理
the
重点
selection
建设
of projects.
任务，积极
We will
谋划
come
储备一
through the
批
key
长期储
development
增功能
mission
立
this
长远
year,
的重大项
and
目，
will
加
identify a
快
number
推
of
进
key
项目
projects that will
前期
strengthen
工
our
作。
basis,
二是
key
坚
function,
持
and will
资
benefit
金跟着
the
项目走，
future
加快下
generation.
达中央
We
预算内
will
投资计划，
ensure
组织各
adequate
地方
funding
高
for
质
the
量地
key
做好
projects.
专
We
项债
will
券项目准备。
release the
三是坚持要
central
素跟着
budget
项目走，
plan as soon
加
as
强部门
possible
沟
and
通协
encourage
调，
localities
做
to
好
issue
国家
relevant
重大
bonds,
项目
and we will
用地
continue
等政
to
策保
make
障。
sure that land resources are available for key
好，
projects.
谢谢。下一个问
Thank
题
you. Next question.
那边第二排那位女士，这边第二排，第三行这边，第三行第二排这位女士。
您好，中国日报记者提问。
China
我
Daily.
们也知道，教育、医疗还有养老托育等话题
Education,
和老百姓的生活
healthcare,
是息息相关的，
and
也是大家比较
elderly
关注的
care,
话
as
题。
well as
那
the
么，请问
childcare
能否
is
介
very
绍一下
important
今
for
年
the
的
people's
14
livelihood?
规划
Could you
纲要
talk
里面草案里
Could
面有
you
哪一些
share
就
with
是
us what are
在解
the
决老百姓
new
的这种
measures
烦
will be
心事
taken
和操
in
心的事情上
addressing
有没有一些
the
新的值得
needs
期
and
待的举
difficulties
措？谢
of
谢。
the people
这问题
in
谢
the guideline of the 14th five-year plan?
好，那我来回答这个问题啊。5年规划呢，既是国事，也是家事。
The five-year
纲
plan
要草
will
案
be
呢，
important
通
for
篇
both the
贯彻了
development
以
of
人
the
民为中
country
心的
as
发
well
展
as
思
the
想，
well-being of every family.
以满足人民群众
Following the
日益
people-centered
增长的美好生
philosophy,
活的需要为
this
根本
guideline
目的，
will aimed at
着力
ensuring
人的全
people's
面发
need
展
for
和
ever
改
better
善民
life,
生福祉，
and it
突
will
出普
promote
惠
the
性、
overall
基础性、
development of
兜底性的民生建
people
设，
and the
着
betterment
力推
of
进
their
基
lives.
本公共服
We
务平
will
等化，
work for
提出
more
了一
equitable
系列发展
access
目
to
标指
public
标
services,
和
and
政策
we
举
have
措，
set up a
让
number of
发展
key
成果呢
projects,
更
key
多、更
targets,
公平地
and
惠及全体人
policy
民，
measures
实现呢
to benefit
更
our
有质
people
量、
with our
更高
development.
水平的
And we will aim
幼有
at
所育、学有所教、老有所得、
access
病有
to
所医、
education,
老有所
medical
养、
care, health
住有
care,
所居、幼
elderly
有所
care,
服等其
housing,
其有。
and services.
首先呢，在主要指标的设置上，
In
民生福祉类指标
the
数量
setting
最
up
多。
of key
此次纲要
indicators,
草案20个
we
主要指标中
introduced
有7个
a
是
number
民
of
生福祉类的，
indicators
占比
concerning people's
超过
welfare.
1/3。
Among the 20 key
是
indicators,
5年
7
规划中
are about
比重
people's
最高的。
livelihood. That is
这些
more
指
than
标
1/3
涵盖
of
了
the overall
就业
number.、
收入、教育、
These
医疗、
indicators covers
养老、托幼等
employment,
各民生
income,
领域，
education, healthcare,
这充分
elderly
体现
care,
了
and child
把
care.
改善民生福祉
It
放在
shows
更加
that
突出的
we
重要位
made
置。
the improvement of people's
在就
livelihoods
业和收入
a
方
top
面，
priority.
主要是推进
In
更充分、更有质
the
量的就业，不断
area of
提高
income,
居
we
民
aim
的
at
收入。
more
就业
adequate
呢是民生资
and
本，收
quality
入呢是民生资
employment.
源。
Employment
要
is
坚持
important
实
to
施
the people's
就业
livelihoods,
优先战
and
略，
income
把
is
促进就业
equally
放
important.
在经
We
济
will
发展的
promote
首要位置，
investment as
扩大
the
就业容量。
priority of economic growth
重点
and
呢是完善
expand
高校
the
毕业生、退伍军人、
job
农民工
creation.
等
We
重点
will
群体的就业支持体系，
provide more
帮
support
扶
to
残疾
key
人、零就业家庭成
population
员
groups,
等困
including
难
the
人员的就
migrant
业，
workers, the college graduates, and we
纯
will
真的
support
调查失业
those
率
in difficulties.
控制在
We will
5.5
keep
内。
the
同时呢，
surveyed
健
unemployment
全
rate
终身技
in
能
urban
培训制
areas
度，
below
持续大规模
5.5%.
的开
And
展职业技术培
we
训，
will
来缓解
strengthen
结
the
构性的就业
training
矛盾。
so that people will
要
have
着力提
the
高
adequate
低
skills
收入
to
群
get
体的收入，
employed.
扩大
We will
中等
strengthen
收入
the
群体
income for low-income
居民
groups
收入
and
增长
expand the middle-income
和
group.
经济增长要基本同步
The。income growth
健
will
全
keep pace
工资
with
合理增长
economic
机制，
growth, and we
要
will
提高
improve
劳动报酬，
the mechanism
在
for the
初次分配中
reasonable
的比
growth
重，
of
还要创新
wages.
完善
We will
要
also
素创意分配的机制，
improve the
多渠道
mechanism for
增加
factor-based
财产性的收入。
distribution and
在教育方
increase
面，
the
主要
income
是建设高质量教育体系，
based on assets.
坚持优先发展教育
We
事业，
will
发
give
展更加
top
公平、
priority
更高
to
质量的教育，
education and ensure
持续改善
quality and
教
more
育基础不
equitable
路线、
education.
人口
We
流
will
入地
strengthen
和农村地区
those
的办学条
areas
件，
with
新
weak
改
education
新建、改扩
infrastructure,
建
but
中小学
with a huge
4000所以
population
上，
flow as well as
促
the
进义务教
education.
育
We will improve the
优质
education
均衡
in
发
rural
展和
areas
城
to
乡一体化，
promote the balanced growth
加
and the
快补齐
development
学
of
前教育的
compulsory
短板，
education and
新建、改扩
more
建2万所幼儿园，
better
要增加普
balance
惠性幼儿园学位
between
400
the
万
urban
个以
and
上，
rural
努
areas.
力解决
We
入
will
园难、
increase
入园贵的问
the
题。
childcare
学前
capacity
教育毛入学率
by
要
over
提高到
5
90%
million
以上，
to increase the
要巩
to
固提
address
升
the
高
issue
中
of
阶段
affordability
教育
and
的普及水平。
accessibility. We
高
will
中阶段
also
毛入学率要提高到
expand the
92%
coverage
以上。
of high school
要实施
compulsory education
现
to
代
more
职业技术教育质量
population.
提升计划，
We
建设一
will
批高
strengthen
水平的
vocational
职业技术
training
院校、
and
职训基地和专业，
establish
培育
a
大
help
批大苦工
encourage
匠。
the
要分类
establishment
建设
of
16大学和16
high
学科，
level
推
education
进部分普
vocational
通本科
education
院校
centers
向
and
应用性转变，
colleges.
特
We
别是要
will
支持
encourage
100所中西部
application
本科高校的建设
education.
高等
And
教
especially
育
we
毛
will
入学率
support
提高
the
到
central and
60%。
western regions
在医疗卫
in
生方面，主要
higher
是全面推
education.
进健康中国建
And
设，
in
要
healthcare,
构
we
建
will
强大公
promote
共卫
the
生体
building
系，
of a
提高
health,
应对突发
a
公共卫生事
country
件的
of
能力，
better
要完
public
善
health.
公立医疗机构
We
为主体的
will
医疗服务体系，支
Improve
持
the
医疗资源
healthcare
投入
system
省份，
with public
建设一
health
批
institutions
区域
as
医
the
疗中
main
心，
body, and
提
we
升
will
以
promote
县级医院
the
为重点
capacity
的
building
基
and
层医疗服务
balanced
能力，
development.
要提升医务人员培
We
养质量
will
和规模。
Enhance
每
the
千人
training
口
of
拥有
healthcare
职业医师
providers
数量要提
and
高到3.2人，
healthcare
注册
practitioners.
护士数要提高到
The
3.8
number
人，
of
要健全全民
nurses
医保
and
制度，
doctors
推
available
动
for our
基本医疗保
population
险
will also
审计
be
统筹，
increased.
健全
We will
重大
also
疾病医疗保险和救助制度，
improve
要落
the
实异地
insurance
就医计算
mechanism for key
要积极
for
推
major
进药
diseases
品
and
和耗
heavy
材集
diseases,
中
and
带
we
量
will
产业使用
also
改革，切实减
enhance
轻群
the
众看病负
reform
担。
of relevant
在社会
health
保障方面，
utilities
主要是
to
堵底
lower the
线、
cost for
致命
healthcare.
网建机制。
And
我国
we
已建
will
成世界上规模最大的
also
社会保障体系。
strengthen
要
the
在此基
safety
础上
nets for social
进一步
insurance.
健全
We had
多
put in
层
place
次
the
社会保
world's
障体系
largest。 social
基
security
本养
system,
老保
and
险
on
的
that
穿保率
basis,
要提高到
we
95%，
will
实现基本养老保险全国
cover
统筹，
95% of our
推
population
进
with
失业
basic
和工
pension,
伤保险省
and
级
we will
统筹，
also strengthen
放宽灵活就业人员穿保条件，实现
the
社会保
portability
险
of
法定人群全覆盖，做到
unemployment
应保尽保。
benefits and workplace
逐步提高
safety
城镇居民
compensation.
基础养老
We
金标
will
准，推进社
ensure
保
more
转移继
people
续。
can
同时呢，
participate
还要
in
强化
our
对困难
insurance
人群的
scheme,
社会
and
救助
we will
和
also
多地保障，
strengthen
促
the
进
safety
慈善事业
net
的发展。
for those people in
在
difficulties
养
and
老育幼方面，
promote
主要是完
the
善一老一小
charity
服务体系。
the development
预
of
计
charity.
14个国家
In
进入中度
Health
老龄
in
化阶
elderly
段。
care, we
纲要草
will
案
enhance
回应了社
the
会关切，
services
将
for
积极应
elderly
对人
care.
口老龄化
As
上升
China
为
is
国家战略，
entering a
大力发
medium
展
level
普
of
惠型养老服
aging
务，
society,
构建
we will
居
meet
家
the needs of
居
our
家
public.
社区机构相
We
协
will
调，
encourage
医
both
养
communities
康养相
and
结合的
institutions
养老
to
服务
provide
体系，
healthcare
完善社
services for the
会
elderly,
居家养老服
and
务
we
网络
will，strengthen
推
the
进公共
network
设施的
for
适老化改造，
at-home
督促
healthcare
并举扩大
supported by
养老机构
community
的床位供
services.
给，
We will
要
also
提升
expand
服务能力和水
the
平。
beds
护理型
in
床位的装比要提高到
elderly care
55%，
institutions.
要发
We will
展
increase
普
the
惠
share
妇幼
of
服务体系，将
nursery
每千人口
style
拥有
beds
3岁
to
以下婴儿
55%.
托幼数这个托
And
位数
also,
由
we
目前
will
的1.8
expand
个提
childcare
高到
services for
4.5个，
parents of children under the age
支
of
持
3.
企事业单位和
We
社
will
会组
support
织等社会力量，提供
more social participants to provide necessary services and encourage the quality of kindergartens nationwide. Thank you. Next question. Phoenix TV about urbanization. Significant growth has been made in urbanization, and the urbanization rate has exceeded 60%. What will be the targeted measures taken in this guideline to promote new urbanization and ensure the quality of urbanization?
我来回答这个问题啊。这个城镇化呢是现代化的必由之路。
Urbanization is necessary to modernization. It is also the largest source of domestic demand and domestic market for China. It is an important support for our effort to foster a new development paradigm. As you rightly mentioned, since the 18th Party Congress, China has made a major historic achievement in advancing new type urbanization. A large number of rural population are transferring to cities, and the urbanization rate and household registration urbanization rate exceeded 60% and 45% respectively. Over 100 million rural population have got household registration in cities. We are establishing a 19+2 city cluster layout. In the 14th five-year plan period, we will be in the medium and rear stage of urbanization, rapid urbanization. It will also be a crucial period for China's comprehensive transformation, so we will continue to stay committed to a new type of urbanization path with Chinese characteristics, advance the people-centered new type of urbanization strategy, and advance the quality of urbanization. Our effort will be mainly in the following three areas. First, we will deepen the household registration reform and orderly advance the urbanization for rural population. Currently, there are still 200 million rural population who are living in the cities but do not have household registration there. So we still have a low level of quality of the citizenization of rural population. So this is our primary task. We need to focus on the stock and promote the increment. We will coordinate the full coverage of household registration and basic public service access and advance the integration of rural population into cities. On one hand, we will continue to lower the threshold for household registration to ensure that all people who want to have a household registration can get one. We will expand or remove the cap for urban registration number except for certain megacities, and we will pilot a household registration system of filing, and we will ensure the orderly household registration of rural population living in urban cities. We will comprehensively remove the cap for household registration in some cities to ensure that there will be a uniform standard for household registration. For cities of 3 million to 5 million population, the restriction will be expanded. For megacities of 5 million and up, we will improve the credit accumulation system for household registration so as to ensure that a greater priority is given to the period of actual residence. At the same time, we will ensure that the rural residents will still have their rights retained in their original residence. We will ensure that the residence permit will be used as the main part to provide public access. We will encourage local governments to provide more convenience for the residents. We will advance the actual access of education and other public services so as to ensure that all residents, regardless of household registration, can have access to the same services. At the same time, we will advance the connectedness of residents and other rights so that the land allocation will be connected to the actual number of residents. We will further improve the layout of services. This is the most important task. Second, we will improve the layout of urbanization and advance the coordinated development of cities of all sizes. To be brief, megacities will be streamlined. Medium and large-sized cities will improve their functions. Townships will make up for their weak links. For megacities, when they streamline themselves, they need to do that in light of the issues laid bare by COVID-19, which is over-concentration of population and weak resilience to risks. On the one hand, we need to stay committed to the boundaries of urban development and be prudent in canceling townships and setting up districts. Second, we need to channel away non-core functions and guide the transferring of over-concentrated public resources. Third, we will advance the interconnected development of megacities and their neighboring smaller cities so as to advance transportation integration and advance a new cluster of modern city circles. Third, we need to leverage the role of the low overall cost of medium-sized cities to improve urban services and living quality. Fourth, we need to make up for the weak links of townships and advance urbanization with townships as an important participant. Townships are the head of villages and the tail of cities. They are an important supporting point for the billions or millions of rural residents. Now, there are many weak links in the development of townships. Therefore, we need to advance township-based urbanization. Last year, we have taken targeted measures to accelerate the strengthening of weak links of townships. We improved top-level design, stepped up financial support, and conducted pilot programs. In the 14th five-year plan period, we will give priority to townships in eastern areas and focus on the township development of central and western regions and northeastern region. We will focus on the biological functional zone townships and advance the upgrading of 17 areas in 4 major parts, including public services, environment and hygiene, public utilities, and industrial development. Fifth, we will continue to comprehensively advance the quality of cities. We will ensure progress of public issues of strong public concerns, including parking, charging, and flood prevention facilities. We will ensure the completion of 219,000 old urban community renovation so that people have access to better quality urban life. Thank you. With Reuters, During the 14th five-year plan period, how will we advance the reform regarding the dual circulation development paradigm? And why is the target for 2021 set by higher than 6%? What is the target for the overall 14th five-year plan period in 2021? How will China prevent the possible asset bubble issue because of last year's loose monetary policy? Thank you. Well, thank you for your question. I think our focus of attention has been reform, reflected by the questions raised by the previous journalists. Indeed, reform is always underway. It is always ongoing. Entering the 14th five-year plan period, it is all the more important for us to leverage the key role of reform. In the previous 18th meeting of the Central Comprehensively Deepening Reform Commission, General Secretary Xi Jinping stressed that we need to focus on high-level self-reliance, on smoothening the economic circulation, on expanding domestic demand, on advancing high-level opening up, and on promoting comprehensive green transformation. Those 5 priorities are very important, and that provides the fundamental guidance for our future work. On this year's macro management, how can we balance economic growth and preventing risks? I believe this is the thrust of your question. As Vice Chairman Ning mentioned, we need to, on the one hand, prepare for the worst scenarios and strengthen preparedness for expected risks, while on the other hand, make adaptive management and take science-based and accurate measures. And we need to focus on reform to diffuse risks and challenges. I wish to take this opportunity to give you a brief introduction on the major key reform tasks in 5 areas. First is to focus on invigorating the vitality of all types of market entities. In the state-owned sector, the key is to advance the improving and structural adjustment of the economic layout of the state-owned sector. We need to advance state-owned capital and SOEs to further focus on strategic security, industrial pioneering, public welfare, and public services. They need to adjust their stock structure and upgrade their increment layout. On the reform of mixed ownership, we need to steadily and firmly advance mixed ownership reform and advance the pilot programs involving 200 SOEs and build a number of new pioneering enterprises and take stock of the experience in this reform. In the private sector, which is something people care about very much, we need to improve the environment for the private sector and break the barriers that constrain the development of private firms. We also need to strengthen monitoring of private economic performance and build a series of city of excellence for private sector development so that they can mobilize the development of others. Second, we need to build a high standard market system. There will be 3 key areas. on the market system development. We need to implement our plan for building a high standard market system, improve the quality and efficiency of the market, and build a unified grand market nationwide. On the efficient allocation of factors, we need to continue to deepen reform of land, labor, capital, technology, and data, as well as other factors in a market-based manner, and advance pilot programs in market-based reform of allocation. On improving market access, we will comprehensively implement the nationwide list-based management and improve the dynamic adjustment mechanism for the negative list. This year, we will adopt the 2021 version of market access negative list and break the invisible barriers for market access. We will also formulate measures for expanding market access in Hainan and Shenzhen. Third, we will focus on continuously deepening reform in key areas. Let me mention a few. On power generation, we will advance a nationwide power market system and pilot the trade of electricity and advance the reform of the manufacturing, equipment manufacturing, design and construction of electricity grid. On petroleum and natural gas, we will deepen the reform of the pipelines of petroleum and natural gas and build a nationwide network, unified network, and ensure that the state-owned pipeline network will be opened to all market entities in a fair way. We will also improve the reserve system for crude oil and produced oil. On railway, we will deepen the reform of the railway market and advance appropriate competition in this area. Fourth, we will focus on advancing comprehensive green transformation. The focus is to focus on the goal of carbon peaking and carbon neutrality, accelerate the building of a market of energy right and carbon emission right, and ensure a controlling system for energy and consumption. We will develop a system for the orderly and coordinated growth of energy use, conservation, and reserve. And we will improve the regulation for ecological compensation. Fifth, we will focus on improving people's well-being. Vice Chairman Hu mentioned a lot of measures, and let me add just a few. We will improve the factor-based allocation policy and improve the market-based compensation system for all sorts of production factors so as to improve the factor-based income of medium and low income residents. We will also improve the adjustment system for major well-being products and advance the building of a standard system for basic public services, improve old age care, as well as health services. Such reforms are needed to meet people's growing need for a better life. On reform, this is what I have to say. Maybe there's something that can be added by the other leaders. Well, let me take your question regarding the setting for the GDP growth of 2021. This is something that people care about the most. In the 14th five-year plan period, it set GDP growth at annual growth within a proper range and will be specified on a yearly basis. This is the first phrasing for all plans. So this is a quantitative measurement covering some qualitative measurement. This is in light of the overall economic performance as well as the development trend and domestic and international landscapes during the 14th five-year plan period. We have compared with all sorts of plans and made profound assessment. I think we need to have a comprehensive and accurate understanding of such a phrasing. First of all, GDP is a core index gauging the development of a country. It is a reflection of the economic strength and overall competitiveness of a country. Therefore, in the major indicators of the 14th five-year plan period, we have retained GDP as an indicator, but only rephrased the measurement for the GDP. Second, China is shifting gear toward high-quality growth. We are no longer using GDP growth as a simplistic measurement. Even less will we pursue economic development with no regard of ecological consequences. To achieve modernization of the country, we need a reasonable level of growth. China remains the largest developing country in the world, and development continues to hold the key to addressing all issues. The way 14th five-year plan guidelines addresses this issue is coordinating considerations of those areas. It does not mean that we no longer need a growth in GDP. In the fifth plenum of the 19th CPC Central Committee, it mentioned that by 2035, our per capita GDP will reach the level of a medium-sized developed country. This means that in the next 15 years, China's GDP growth will need to be maintained in a proper range. At the same time, we have seen that in the draft guidelines, other major indicators, including unemployment rate, energy intensity, carbon emission intensity, as well as others, they are connected with the GDP, and those indicators have specific numbers. So they have implied that we need to keep the economic growth rate on par with potential areas of growth. Thirdly, we have made a lot of calculation. In the 14th five-year plan period, to keep the GDP growth at a certain speed is something that we can achieve. And we have done a lot of calculation. But considering that in the upcoming 5 years, the external and the domestic environments will remain uncertain, not setting a quantitative indicator would be conducive for us to address all sorts of risks better, and it leaves us some room for maneuver to address uncertainties, and it will also help all parties to focus on the quality and efficiency of development. It would be difficult for us to have accurate assessment for situations on a yearly basis. Therefore, we will take targeted, we will put forward targeted annual indicators or goals in light of the evolving situation. Thank you. Thank you, with Bloomberg. Let me ask a question about scientific self-reliance. In the 14th five-year plan period, what will be the priorities in advancing science self-reliance, and what will the country do to increase investment in science and technology? Will there be a quantitative measurement? Thank you.
This indeed is a very important question. We've mentioned the importance of self-strengthening and self-reliance in science and technology. in the 14th five-year plan period, we will strengthen our efforts in this regard. We will strengthen our strategic capacity for science and technology and strengthen the application of basic research and applied research to improve the core competitiveness of Chinese industries. You asked for what might be the areas, projects, and what might be the specific investment areas. I've mentioned that in the 14th five-year plan period, the investment, the high-tech investment will grow at 7% annually, and the R&D investment to GDP ratio will be higher compared with the 13th five-year plan period. These are two internationally applied indicators. And actually, in the 13th five-year plan period, our R&D investment has been growing at a fast pace, and the R&D investment to GDP ratio exceeded 2.4% last year, and we will aim for higher in the 14th five-year plan period. As for the specific projects, we will accelerate the building of national-level labs, and we will restructure the system of key national labs. And second, we will strengthen basic research, and we will accelerate the formulation of a 10-year plan for basic research and establish a number of centers for basic research. Third, we will also enhance the research in making breakthroughs on key technologies, and we will figure out a number of key projects for 2030. And fourth, and we will support the building of new infrastructure. Previously, we've made important progress in key scientific research infrastructure such as Tianyan, and we will continue to strengthen infrastructure building in science and technology. And fifth, we will support the building of science innovation centers and international scientific innovation centers. We will support Beijing and Shanghai in stepping up to these important roles. And we will support Huairou, Zhangjiang, Hefei, and the Greater Bay Area to serve as comprehensive science innovation centers. And we will also support Chengdu and the Chongqing city cluster area to serve as important science innovation centers. And we will also support industrial innovation centers, science and technology innovation centers, manufacturing innovation centers, and some other centers at different levels. We will also support the integrated development of application, innovation, and research and development. We will support open platforms and open bidding. We will also support a good environment for innovation and entrepreneurship. We will also encourage our businesses to expand their R&D investment. Actually, the businesses' contribution to R&D investments has exceeded 75%. We will continue to encourage them to expand investments. And also, we will promote entrepreneurship and mass innovation and support a number of centers to boost these important endeavors. You mentioned about our investments. Actually, in the year 2020, the R&D investments exceeded 2.4426 trillion yuan. So this number stands at the second place in the world. And in our 14th five-year plan guideline, we set the target of an annual growth of more than 7% in R&D investments. On that basis, by the year 2025, the overall R&D investments will exceed 3.7582 trillion yuan. This is not price adjusted. So you can see that in this 5 years, the overall increment will be about 1.3156 trillion yuan. And also, the share will be larger in this 5-year plan period. And we've given greater priority to basic research in our guideline. We have a special section on this issue, and this is the first time that we set out this indicator, namely the share of basic research investment to overall research investments, as a key indicator in our guideline. In 2020, the share was 6.16%. There are still relatively huge gap in this number between China and advanced countries. And we hope that in the 14th five-year plan period, the share will reach 8% in the year 2025. This is the first time we set such a target. This is a very positive signal. In 2020, our basic research was 150.4 billion yuan, and in the year 2025, we will make that 280 billion yuan. That means we will give greater priority to basic research. Next question. CRI. In the 14th five-year plan period, how will we promote coordinated development between different areas? We set up a mechanism for the renovation, for the rejuvenation of the northeastern area. So what will be the measures in this regard? This question is about coordinated development between different regions. In fact, the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core attach great importance to this important question. We promoted the coordinated development between Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, the development of the Yangtze River Economic Belt, the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, the integrated development of the Yangtze River Delta, and so on. So we've made important progress in advancing the coordinated development between different regions. And in the 14th five-year plan period, we will aim for greater progress. And we will focus on the following three aspects. First, we will implement the major regional development strategies. As for the development of the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei area, we will continue to streamline Beijing by relieving it of its non-capital burdens, and we will support greater environmental protection and aim for higher quality development in the building of the Yangtze River Economic Belt. In the Greater Bay Area, we will aim for more vibrant and more competitive world-class Bay Area and world-class city clusters. And in the integration of the Yangtze River Delta, we will aim for higher quality development and the fostering of a new development paradigm to support and play a lead and demonstrative role in the high-quality development nationwide. And in the development of the Yellow River area, we will aim for a good start and for significant progress in the 14th five-year plan period. And second, we will continue to promote coordinated development between different regions. In the Western China, we will refine our policies, promote greater coordination within the region, and foster a new paradigm featuring environmental protection, greater opening up, and higher quality development. And in the northeastern China, we will aim for comprehensive rejuvenation. We will strengthen policy coordination and ensure our national defense, food, environmental protection, energy, and industrial security. And in central China, we will promote the development of advanced manufacturing industries. And in eastern China, we will accelerate modernization and advance industrial upgrading through innovation and participate in international cooperation at a higher level. And also, we will coordinate both land and sea development to promote blue economy and build a country strong in blue economy. We will also leverage the role of national-level new industrial zones to advance opening up and reform and become pace-setter in real economic growth. And third, we will improve the regional economic layout featuring greater complementarity and high-quality development. We will improve the coordination and the coordinated development of different regions, encourage different regions to leverage their comparative strengths to promote the flow of factors and promote innovation-driven development. We will also put in place a strong driver for high-quality development and encourage those central cities and central city clusters to support the economic, support other regions in maintaining our national border security and food security, and step up to the responsibility of provide service for more population. You mentioned the mechanism on the rejuvenation of the northeastern area. Let me add some points. General Secretary Xi Jinping paid several visits to the northeastern part of China, which shows the great importance that the CPC Central Committee and General Secretary Xi Jinping attach to this region. The NDRC has worked with relevant departments to improve the policy system featuring 1 plus N plus X for the rejuvenation of the northeastern part of China, and there are indeed some progress in this regard. To promote better coordination and implementation of relevant policies, as you mentioned, with the consent of the State Council And under the central leading group of the State Council on rejuvenation of the northeastern part of China, we put in place this mechanism you mentioned, and Vice Chairman Cong Liang is the lead official in this mechanism, and we will follow through on the 5th plenary session of the 19th CPC Central Committee to lay out an action plan for the rejuvenation of the northeastern part of China in the 14th five-year plan period, featuring a number of key projects, key missions, and key policies that will help to make breakthroughs in this regard.
那位女士吧。
谢谢主持人。南方报业传媒集团南方都市报记者提问：去年冬季以来，受极寒天气影响，全国用电负荷超夏季高峰，创历史新高。
The electricity consumption in summer has exceeded the historic record. Is that going to be something more frequent in the future? And given the extreme cold in Texas in the United States, so what measures will be taken to enhance our national energy security?
As you mentioned, after entering winter last year, there has been some new developments in the energy production and energy demands, and there have been some setbacks. Let me share with some observations in three folds. First, let's take a brief stock of what happened previously. In the winter of 2020, because of the fast recovery of the economy and the extreme coldness, China's energy demands increased very fast, especially the demand for electricity. On the 14th of December, 16th of December, and 30th of December, as well as 7th of January this year, China's electricity demand hit 4 records. Particularly on the 7th of January, in the rush hour in the afternoon, the electricity demand reached 1.189 billion kilowatts, and the daily generation was 25.967 billion kilowatt hour, which was 10% higher than the summer peak number. China's total installed capacity was 2.1 billion kilowatts. But the comparing with the load, the protection should be very certain. But let me explain that. In the evening, there will be no solar power, and there was no wind on that specific day, so there was only 10% of wind power. So the 530 million kilowatts of solar and wind power was not in use, and the 370 million kilowatt of hydropower was not working. And China has 100 million kilowatt of natural gas electricity which were not in use. Therefore, it is extremely difficult for us to meet the power load. And then we need to consider the layout of generation, as well as some installed capacity that are in repairing, in maintenance. But in accordance to the instructions given by General Secretary Xi Jinping, we organized localities and central SOEs to meet the challenge, and we end up with the success in ensuring the supplies of electricity, especially for people's well-being. There was no major problem taken place. Comparing that with some Western countries, the extreme coldness had led to long-time blackouts and even casualties. This sharp contrast shows that China has a very strong advantage in our system that puts the people first and foremost. And we have done a lot of assessment and analysis. Previously, the electricity use rush hours were usually in summertime because of the use of air conditioners. What happened last year was because of the clean heating transformation, as well as electricity-based heating in the southern part of China. Whether the increase of air conditioner or electricity-based heating, they are all the people's needs for better life. And what our job is to meet people's demand for better life. The NDRC and the National Administration of Energy are taking a coordinative measure to the safety, economy, affordability, and sustainability of the energy mix, as well as meeting our goals of carbon peaking and carbon neutrality. So we are formulating future work plans in these areas. And then let me add, what are we going to do? In one word, we must earnestly implement General Secretary Xi Jinping's instructions on the production, conservation, and retailing of energy. On production, we need to focus on ensuring the supplies of energy and resources and take a coordinated measure to advance the development of electric power grids and build a network of stable production of energy. On supplies, we need to optimize the allocation of resources. On reserve, we need to shore up the weak link in energy reserve. And on the retailing, we need to build a modern energy market and use market-based measures to deepen the demand-side management. All in all, in recent years, in accordance with General Secretary Xi Jinping's requirements for a new strategy in ensuring energy security, we have secured profound progress in this area. And we have the advantage in system and strong material foundation, as well as rich experience in supply guarantee for maintaining the country's energy security. Therefore, we have the confidence and the capability to ensure solid and good progress in energy security so that people will have a strong sense of satisfaction. Thank you. Next question. With Kyoto, my question is about foreign investment. Some foreign firms have some concerns. For example, the export control law may create restrictions or obstacles for their production and investment in China. How can China make them reinsured for their investment in China? In 2020, with a worldwide drop of cross-border investment, China's paid-in investment, foreign investment, bucked the trend and increased to a number of $144.37 up by 4.5%. In the first month this year, it has been a very good upstart in terms of the use of paid-in investment. It was $13.5 billion, up by 6.2% year-on-year. Foreign firms in China are operating well here. A number of new large projects have been advanced steadily. The recent AmCham South China white paper showed that 94% of U.S. firms have an optimistic view on the Chinese market, and over half of the firms are making China the primary destination for global investment. Well, this is for the United States, which also reflects the same mood for European firms and firms from other countries. Going forward, there are still some challenges in ensuring stability in foreign investment. In 2021, the NDRC will act in line with the CPC Central Committee and State Council's arrangements and advance open up on a larger scale and in more areas, and we will accelerate the building of a new economic system with a higher level of opening up, implement the foreign investment law, ensure protection and promotion of foreign investment. First, we will further shorten the negative list for foreign investment access. From 2017 to 2020, we have amended the negative list for 4 consecutive years and slashed the restrictive measures to nearly 2/3. In finance, auto, and other industries, we introduced a series of major open-up measures. Manufacturing is basically open to access. This year, we will further narrow the list, consolidate the open-up measures for manufacturing, and give priority to the orderly open-up of services, and introduce advanced technologies and managerial experience and commercial models more extensively to promote high-quality development with high-level open-up. At the same time, we will give better play to the role of pilot free trade zones to pilot new measures. Second, we will encourage foreign investment. The new version of industrial catalog for foreign investment was adopted in January this year. 127 sectors were added to the list. We will ensure its implementation, promote increment as well as stock, and improve the supportive policies, and guide foreign investment into advanced manufacturing, high-tech, energy conservation, and environment protection industries, as well as give a priority to research and development, design, modern logistics, information services, and to the Western Central regions and Northeastern region, so that they will better leverage their role in ensuring the stability of supply and industrial chains. Third, we will ensure the implementation of major foreign investment projects. In 2018, the NDRC set up a body for major foreign investment projects to address the problems in the implementation. So far, we have adopted 4 batches of major foreign investment projects exceeding a volume of $110 billion. This year, we will adopt the 5th batch of projects and give policy support for their planning, land use, environmental assessment, and energy use. We will continue to make advanced manufacturing and high-tech as the main direction for support for foreign investment, and encourage foreign involvement in the high-quality development of manufacturing, new type of infrastructure development, and innovation-driven development. We will better leverage the role of national key foreign investment projects and provide full process services. Fourth, we will provide post-establishment national treatment to foreign investors. We will apply the preferential policies to foreign firms and continue to provide support in terms of government procurement, land use, tax and fee cuts, accreditation, standard setting, and human resources, and continue to provide fair treatment to them. Regarding the export control law, the law is targeted at the management of export of dual-use items and military items. In terms of the scope of management and measures of management, it has equal treatment to Chinese and foreign firms, and generally speaking, it has no impact on the normal export of foreign firms. Fifth, we will strengthen corporate services. We will further advance outreach programs, relevant policies, and work actively to help foreign firms in addressing their problems in investment, production, and operation, and provide more convenience for them. At the same time, we will further improve the management of pre-establishment negative list plus treatment plus a negative list, advance high-level open up, and build a fair, transparent, efficient, and secure regulation system that is up to international practices and build a better investment environment. Last question.
China News Service. The guideline made clear that we will work more actively for common prosperity. So what specific measures to be expected? Common prosperity is what socialism is essentially about. It is also the shared expectation of the public. Our party has been dedicated to this abiding goal. Since the 18th National Congress of the party, we've made significant progress in adding more substance to common prosperity. For example, we've made historic progress in poverty alleviation, and also the completion of a moderately prosperous society in all respects also laid a solid foundation for common prosperity. It is made clear that by the year of 2035, we will make more solid progress in common prosperity. This is the first time that this target is set out in the National Congress of the party. In fact, common prosperity is an important goal of building a modern socialist country. So in building this modern socialist country, we will give greater priority to common prosperity and make active efforts towards this goal. And also we need to take into account the Chinese realities and the context in understanding common prosperity. So first of all, common prosperity is prosperity for all. It is not prosperity for some people and some region. Instead, it is prosperity for everybody so that everyone can live a better of life. And secondly, common prosperity is prosperity in all respects. That means prosperity in both material means but also mental aspects. It is not only about more well-off life but also about greater confidence in national spirits, better environment, more harmonious society, more equitable access to public services, and so on. So this goal will be about the all-round development of people and the progress of the society. Third, common prosperity is one based on extensive contribution and shared benefits. So everyone needs to participate and contribute to this endeavor, and everyone will share the benefits. Together, we will build a better homeland and deliver a better life. And fourth, common prosperity will take a process. This will be a long and arduous journey, we need to make active efforts. And we need to keep in mind the realities on the ground and make persevering efforts. This goal will be achieved in the process of realizing modernization. These are the 4 aspects important to common prosperity. And the 14th five-year plan guideline made clear that we need to make solid efforts and work more actively to promote common prosperity. This will be another important guiding principle for our efforts in realizing common prosperity. So, in our work, we will focus on addressing inadequate and uneven development, especially that between the urban and rural areas, and also the income gap. We will promote high-quality development and in this process realize common prosperity. That means we will make the pie bigger and ensure more equitable sharing of this pie. We will address the gaps between different regions, between the urban and rural area, and between different income groups. We will promote employment, income distribution, healthcare, housing, elderly care, and child care in this process to provide better public services for our people, and we will ensure greater preference policies for those weak areas with greater difficulties and vulnerabilities. We will make sure that the outcome of development will benefit more people, and people will have a greater sense of fulfillment in this process. This will be an important driving force for the building of a modern socialist country. So, following the decision of the Party Central Committee, it is set out in the 14th five-year plan guideline that we need to have a specific guideline for common prosperity. This will be a top-level design that will identify the direction, key mission, major principle, and implementation method for common prosperity. And the relevant departments are working on this guideline for common prosperity. And also, the guideline raised the decision to support Zhejiang province in building a demonstrative region for common prosperity. So we will both have a top-level design as well as a demonstration project. Zhejiang has a strong basis. Its indicator in the urban-rural gap, the income gap, is rather good, so we will support Zhejiang in building a demonstrative zone for high-quality development and common prosperity. So Zhejiang province will work on institutions and arrangements for promoting common prosperity so that this experience can be applied to the wider nation. Thank you. With that, we conclude today's press conference. Thank you.